Hello everybody and welcome back to Middle-earth. This is Count MRVHS with a short, hopefully, 4th Age guide for you today. We are looking at authority, the stat that belongs to, well, actually all of your family members, but it's most important for your faction leader, and how authority interacts with a trait that we internally call opinion of liege. So authority is basically a renamed version of influence, if you remember that from Vanilla Rome Total War. Influence had effects on public order. It also, for governors, right, a high influence governor saw higher public order. And you can see that this guy's authority is, or influence is impacting public order a little bit here. This also related to the size of the bodyguard that accompanied the general. So a higher authority improved that. But apart from those two things, I don't think authority really had all that much to do in Vanilla Rome. So in 4th Age Total War, authority is a more important stat that can potentially have kingdom-wide repercussions. So let's take a look at what I mean. So this is my faction leader, Imrazor the Great Conqueror. He is basking right now in his victory of conquering the White City of Minas Anor. He has just taken that. I'm playing the Kingdom of Adunabar, as you can tell, a cultic faction in the 4th Age, and we've just taken Minas Anor. And his authority is sitting rather pretty at 7 out of a possible 10. So that's pretty good. As you can see where it says ruler down there, it says this ruler can count on the support of many powerful men in his realm. And that's one of the factors of authority in the 4th Age. High authority will translate into your other family members, governors or generals, being more effective in their respective roles. Generally speaking, an extra crown or two of authority will translate into a higher level of the trait that we call opinion of liege. So let's take a look at one of these governors. This is Gimil Khad. He is the Lord of Emin Arnen, and he is supportive. Now this stat appears a little bit further down the trait list. So there's a lot of traits in the 4th Age, and maybe I'll do a separate video on all of them. But starting off, they're all organized in the same way, so it's pretty easy to navigate. You've got your governor traits and your commander traits. Below those, you've got your race traits. So, of course, he's a man, he's a Dunedain, so on. And then you've got under the race-related traits, there are how energetic, intelligent, and charismatic the individual is. And right underneath that is the opinion of liege. This individual is supportive. From the very bottom of this, there's a fairly large tooltip, of course. In-game, you can take a look and read all of this stuff. But this opinion of liege trait is affected by a lot of things, but the thing that is the most easy for you, the player, to manage is the authority of the faction leader. So if you can increase that faction leader's authority, then you can see this trait increase. So he may go from being supportive to being staunch. Is one of them. There's several levels above supportive, and there's also several levels below supportive where you get into penalties. But supportive is sort of the baseline in some ways. It's the lowest level of positive effects. As you can see from the very bottom of this tooltip, he's enjoying a 5% bonus to trade, income tax, and land tax collection. So as governor of Emin Arnen, he is bringing in extra money than a less loyal or less supportive family member would. So he's going to do well in this role. He's also getting a bonus to troop training costs and extra morale. On the other hand, we've got a couple of family members over here, off in the wastelands of Rune, who are not feeling so great about the king right now. This individual is discourteous. And you can see that instead of bonuses, he is going to bring in some penalties if he is the governor. He would bring a negative 10% to trade, tax, and land tax. It would be more expensive to train troops if he was the governor, and when he is the general, as he is now, commanding a field army, the troops who fight under him are going to have a small morale penalty. So, again, this can be worse than discourteous. This is not the lowest of that trait by any means. But you can manage it to some extent if you work on increasing your faction leader's authority. So I had originally started this campaign of Adunabar to work on a campaign guide. But as you can see, I'm not doing super well right now. The finances are just plummeting. I'll need to do a bit of conquering, and maybe I'll have to give this another couple of shots before I feel confident. Adunabar is kind of a tricky campaign, but I thought what I could do is talk about authority because Adunabar is a great opportunity to showcase some of that. So what are the factors that influence authority? Why is this guy up at 7? He started at 3 or 4, I believe, at the beginning of the campaign. And it's only been a couple of turns. The campaign starts in 356. It's only 358, so it's been, I guess, 4 turns. So how have I managed to increase this up to 7? Well, there are 4 factors in authority, basically. One factor is the length of the reign of your faction leader. So the longer he rules, the longer he holds the throne, the higher the authority stat is going to be. So obviously try to keep your king alive as long as he's a good king, and you'll see that naturally go up. So that's the easiest one to deal with. Another is military, and that's probably why his stat is so high right now. He is king at a time when he is expanding. The kingdom is expanding. So we haven't conquered too much just yet, but we have taken Minas Honor, and this is, of course, a very important settlement. It is a chief city, as you can tell from this banner here, and it's just an important place to take. So places like this, if you conquer them, places that are on your victory conditions, basically, places that are considered important for your faction, then that will increase the authority stat of your faction leader. On the other hand, losing territory, especially your homelands or important settlements, that's going to make the authority stat go down. Being sieged also can decrease your authority, so try not to just sit back and take those sieges, although sometimes there's not much you can do. So that's 2 ways: length of reign, military. Third method, finances. In all my campaigns, I have low taxes, because low taxes increase your faction leader's authority. I know that is not the optimal way to raise finances, but it can indirectly raise finances, because if your authority goes up, your family members are going to be more loyal. More loyal family members who are supportive are going to see bonuses like this governor is enjoying, and that's going to make you more money. So I haven't actually crunched the numbers to see which is better. If it's better to go with low taxes everywhere across your realm with the aim of buffing your faction leader's authority, or just ignore that and crank taxes up as high as they will support. There's another reason I keep low taxes, though, in addition to the authority bonus it provides, and that's because I like to have population growing. It's very important overall in the 4th Age, especially for the Dunedainic factions, because they tend to have low population growth. So I tend to keep taxes as low as I can. So low taxes. Now you'll notice here that I've got this on auto manage. This is another thing that can play a role in the opinion of the liege. So if I were to take this off and just have it be on low taxes instead of a particular policy, his opinion of liege might go down. We might see him drop down to dubious as opposed to supportive, and he might start taking some penalties. So if you've got governors, put them on local governance, untick these 2 options, and put them on a growth policy, because that's essentially the same as low taxes. Everywhere else, I've got low taxes. Every place that doesn't have a governor, it's low. Every place that does have a governor, it's on auto manage, and it's on a growth policy, so I can ensure low tax bonus to authority. I'm just kind of curious about this guy. This is actually my faction heir. He's better than supportive. He is staunch. So this guy is a quite good governor, and he would be a good general as well. So anyway, there are real benefits to doing that. The other side of finances, in terms of how that intersects with authority, is that a full treasury is going to see your faction leader's authority go up. Now, I am not sitting on a full treasury right now. You want to be looking at thousands of Mirian in the bank, and I don't have that. But what I do as a campaign progresses, it's very tough with the Dunabar, but as a campaign goes on, I try to not spend more than I am making. So I'm always checking the finances tab and see what's my profit looking like, and I spend less than that. So I'm always making a bit of money, and I'm trying to always shore up my treasury, so again, I can help with the authority. Related to finances are buildings, so that if you have all of your expenditures just on army upkeep, that's going to hurt your authority stat. And you can see I'm paying through the nose through my army right now. That's just the way it is for a Dunabar in the early game. They start with a lot of high-tier troops that are very expensive, and so the upkeep's just going to be high until you can conquer enough to make up for it. But try to build a variety of things. Don't just build towards military, build for economics, build for public order buildings. Anything that gives other types of bonuses in a balanced way is going to also help your faction leader's authority. So that's the finances. The third and final element is diplomacy. And here, what's important is alliances versus enemies. With authority, you want to have more allies than enemies. And again, this is tricky with a Dunabar because you end up at war with lots of people. But you can try to find allies who are not right next to you, and those are the ones that will tend to be long-term allies. You can't really trust anyone who's bordering you because over time they're going to look at your realms as potentially a target if you share a land border. But Harad does not share a land border with us. Harandor does, and so that's why they sent an army up here to cause me trouble. So trying to ally with factions that are not right next to you is a wise move. That can get you some easy alliances early in the game, and that'll help your authority stat, especially if you are at involved with a lot of wars. The other thing is try to decrease the number of wars you're fighting if possible. Again, that may not always be the case. The other thing that's related to diplomacy and authority is making sure that you are helping your allies. This is especially true for factions like the Reunited Kingdom and Rohan, who share one of those special alliances where they tend to follow each other into wars, kind of like the Roman factions in Rome, Total War Vanilla. If you are playing the Reunited Kingdom and you see that Rohan is losing territory and under siege a lot, your authority is going to suffer. So take care of about your allies, especially if you're the Reunited Kingdom, Rohan, or Dale and the Dwarves, because they also have an alliance like that. Inappropriate quote-unquote relations, that sounds kind of bad. Inappropriate relations can also hurt your authority. And this, again, is mostly the case with a faction like the Reunited Kingdom. So if you're playing the Reunited Kingdom and you just betray the elves and sack the Grey Havens, that's going to hurt your authority stat, because that's not considered a good move, and realistically, a lot of your people would not like that very much. Now, final thing to say about this is all of those 4 items I talked about, length of reign, military expansion, finances, and diplomacy, these value differently depending on what faction you're playing. So if you are playing a faction like a Dunabar, expanding and taking enemy territories that should belong to your kingdom, that's going to count for a lot, and it's probably that which is overcoming to some extent the financial problems. Now, I probably will, over the next few turns, see this authority stat go down because I'm about to go into negative treasury. So that's one thing to keep in mind. A faction like Rune, a barbarian faction who's going to be expanding and at war with lots of people, that's actually going to really help the faction leader's authority there. So finances aren't going to matter as much for a faction like Rune. Diplomacy is going to matter a lot more for the Reunited Kingdom than it will for a Dunabar, right? Because the Reunited Kingdom is all about, maintaining these old alliances and the Oath of Eorl and all this kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. There are these 4 elements that we talked about that are going to play a greater or lesser role depending on which faction you're playing. So, in any case, I hope that is helpful. I find that playing the authority game is a fun way to approach the mod overall. Keep in mind that for best results, play it on the recommended difficulty settings. That is medium for the campaigns, hard for the battles. But medium especially for the campaigns, because otherwise your diplomacy is going to be very hard to maintain. So, in any case, again, I hope this has been interesting. I'll come back with some other videos, probably short form like this, to try to get you some other pointers regarding other mechanics of the mod. And eventually, if I can get my stuff together here to get a successful Dunabar campaign going, maybe in the future I'll do a guide for that. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.